Hello everyone, this is part 13 of What If Naruto Had Some Help, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The next day when Naruto was walking by the Yamanaka flower shop, he had only made it 20 feet past the glass window when Ino ran out the door and ran beside Naruto, making him stop. Ino was breathing a little hard and said, "Good morning, Naruto." Naruto said, "Morning, Ino. Is everything okay?" Ino said, "Yeah, I just saw you walk by and wanted to say hi and see how you were doing." Naruto said, "Okay, I guess. I had brain freeze as you called it for part of the night, but it was okay." Ino smiled and said, "That's good." Naruto asked, "So how are you doing?" Ino said, "Good, I'm doing good right now. Where you heading to?" Naruto said, "Shikaku-sensei house. I have training with them on Mondays." Ino said, "So that's how you're doing it, training each day of the week with dad and the others?" Naruto said, "Yeah. Mondays are with Shikaku, Tuesday with Chusa, Wednesday is with Anko, Thursdays are with Inoki, and Friday are with Ibiki. Saturdays is supposed to be my relaxed day, but I usually train on it also with Anko help as well as working on getting a little extra money." Ino said, "Thirdsies are with dad. Strange, I never see you," as she looked confused. Naruto said, "I usually only train in the morning when you're not there while Miko works the shop. He mostly gives me a few tasks to complete, and once I complete them I'm done for the day," as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Ino said, "I see. Well, I guess I better let you go. I don't want you to get into trouble for being late." Naruto said, "Sure, have a good day, Ino," as he turned and started to walk away. Ino watched him go and she turned and walked back into her family store, and Inoki smirked and said, "Seems my little princess has a boyfriend." Ino blushed and said, "No, Dad, we're not dating," and thought, "Not yet at least. Maybe someday." Inoki said, "I see, so then what did you talk about?" Ino thought a moment and said, "Oh, I just was finding out if his headache ever went away. I mean, between me, Yoshino, and Choji Mom Karen, I don't think he got away without trying all 24 ice creams flavors at least twice each." Inoki chuckled and said, "Yeah, it was funny when you three actually tied him to a chair so he had no choice." Ino said, "Hey Dad, can we up my training?" Inoki blinked and said, "Sure Ino, but when?" Ino said, "Well, I was thinking since Miko is working here now that we could work on it a little on Thursdays." Inoki eyes went wide a moment and said, "I will have to think about it, Ino. I usually train Naruto that day, but you already knew that, didn't you?" Ino looked sheepish and Inoki said, "Let me ask Naruto this week, and if he agrees then I will let you if your team sensei agrees that is." Ino said, "Thanks Dad. Well, I got to go," as she turned and left. Inoki shook his head and smiled a little bit. When Naruto got to Shikaku he saw his sensei standing there, and Naruto put his hands together and clones filled the area and went toward the woods except 20, and Naruto asked, "Sensei, I was wondering, can we increase my training? I don't want to win ever again because of luck instead of SK." Shikaku saw the clones head off to take care of the deer and said, "All right Naruto, but no Sharingan. I assume those 20 are for the kanji and strategy lessons. They know where the books are." As the 20 clones went inside, Naruto said, "I can't use it anyways, sensei." Shikaku blinked and asked, "Why?" Naruto said, "I saw someone I trust who has some medical skills and had her look at my eye because it hurt me so much to even uncover it. Turned out Itachi had messed up a few connections, but she fixed it and told me not to use the eye for at least several days to give it time to adjust because most transplants people mess up with by using them too early." Shikaku said, "Yes, Yoshino told me the same thing, and I was going to tell you that today. I talked with Kakashi, who also has a Sharingan eye like you, and since you are going to have to use one eye now most of the time, your depth perception along with a few other things are going to be off now. We are going to work today on trying to get you used to working with one eye. I will work with your clones and get them started, but what I want you to do is work on all your basic skills, see which ones have been affected and which ones haven't. We can't have you getting into another fight and throwing your kunais around without being able to hit your target. Naruto said, yes sensei. Shikaku said, hey Naruto, I've been meaning to ask, the Hokage said you usually have trouble with manners but you have mostly been perfect with us on them. What's up? Naruto frowned and said, you all are doing so much for me when no one else would. I want to try and make you all proud. Shikaku nods and said, get to work on that training log over there Naruto while I handle the deer. Naruto nods and walks over and he went to try and punch and kick the post a few times and he thought, I see what he was talking about now, I keep pulling them toward the left of where I am aiming, as he begins to try and punch, kick, throw shurikens, and kunais. While this was going on after the deer had been herded together separated and released, Shikaku looked at all the clones and said, alright, I got one jutsu I want 30 of you to work on today, the rest of you work on chakra control. After 30 stayed and the rest went to work on chakra control, Shikaku said, now for the jutsu. It's called Kage Shuriken no Jutsu. It multiplies a shuriken by however much chakra you put into it and if timed right you can hide a second shuriken in the shadow of the first. With your chakra level and control Naruto never use this if an ally is anywhere near where you are throwing it. Now watch as I perform it a couple of times, as he performed the jutsu 3 times making one shuriken 10 each time. When he was done he turned and said, alright these are the hand signs, as he did it slow several times to demonstrate them and he said, now I want you to try it on the ground here in this clearing, jump into the air and throw it at the ground so that way nobody gets hurt on accident, as he turned and left to find the real Naruto. When he found Naruto he was trying to punch the log but there was a second Naruto who was trying to catch a rock that it was throwing about 3 feet in the air with one hand. Shikaku asked, what's with the Kijibunshin Naruto? Naruto who was punching the log said, I thought that if I were to use a clone it might help me fix my aim problem. Shikaku said, it's a good idea but it won't work. It will help the clone but it won't help you. This is one of those things you will have to work on yourself. Naruto frowned and Shikaku said, don't worry, it won't take long to regain your perception. Naruto nods and said, I don't have to like it though. There was nothing wrong with my eye in the first place. I can't understand why Itachi gave me this eye. Especially when it was half blind. Shikaku turned and asked, what do you mean? Naruto sighed as he punched another punch. The person I had checked the eye said Itachi was going blind. She was able to fix the damage some and said my healing ability might be able to fix the rest. Shikaku sighed and said, I don't know Naruto. Whatever he was thinking we may never know. It can't be helped now so go ahead and get back to work. Naruto said, when I get done relearning this I am going to have to do it with both eyes, aren't I? Shikaku said, maybe. I won't know until later. Naruto got back to work and frowned. By the end of the day Naruto clones had gotten the Kage Shuriken no Jutsu down since it was a variation of the Kijibunshin no Jutsu. Naruto thought, well, now I have Kijibunshin no Jutsu, Kage Shuriken no Jutsu, my Rose Whip as my offensive jutsu. The next day when Naruto got to Chooser he smiled and said, morning Naruto, how's it going? Naruto said, alright I guess. I was wondering if we can increase my training Chooser sensei. Chooser said, yeah, I had planned on it. I got an offensive and a defensive jutsu I want your clones to work on today while you work with the knives again. I am sure Shikaku explained how your vision is different now and you need to relearn the basics. Naruto sighed and said, yeah, he did, so what's the jutsu so we can get started? Chooser said, right, the first is Doryu Heki, Earth-style wall. It is an earth jutsu that allows you to spit out mud and blocks incoming weapons. These are the handsings, as he showed Naruto the hand signs several times and after Naruto demonstrated them Chooser said, now the second one is Doryu Tiger, Earth Flow River. This one you transform the ground your enemy is standing on into mud and with the right amount of chakra control you can send the enemy flying. Now here are the hand signs. And he showed him again slower and after Naruto repeated both set of hand signs Chooser had Naruto create 30 clones for each and had the rest of his clones work on chakra control. After that the real Naruto and Chooser walked inside and Chooser said, alright kid, start with the basic of cutting like I first showed you, none of the fancy moves. Don't want to see if you can regrow a finger. Naruto frowned and nods as the rest of the day he worked on relearning fine-tuning of knife handling. He had a few cuts but they were minor and healed in seconds. The next day Naruto got up and was walking down the stairs from the loft when Ino saw him and said, "Morning Naruto." Naruto froze and Ino asked, "Seeing Miko again?" Naruto said, "Yeah, but she wasn't home." Ino nods and looked at the door and said, "You're training with that lady again today, right?" Naruto said, "Yeah, why?" Ino said, "I will stop by and get the first aid supplies before I come home then." Naruto said, "Look Ino, as she held up her hand and said, "Don't argue with me. I have seen what that woman does to you. Hell, after what happened she may do worse today, so don't argue. Besides, I am thinking about maybe trying to learn some more medical skills, and if you don't mind being my patient we can call it training for me if you don't like the idea." Naruto frowned and said, "Thank Ino." Ino smiled and said, "No problem, well good luck today," as she walked away. Naruto sighed and began to walk away. When Naruto arrived at training ground 44, Anko was leaning against the wall and she was glaring at Naruto. Naruto began to fidget and she asked, "So do you understand exactly what has happened, SS Tane?" Naruto said, "Yeah, I got my ass kicked and lost my eye." Anko shook her head and said, "No, catch," and turned to page 212, as she pulled out a bingo book and tossed it to him. Naruto caught it and turned to page 212 and he read. Naruto Uzumaki, aka Doc 7. Rank Genin. Age 15. Hair blonde. Eyes 1 blue. History. Ked S rank missing nin Uchiha Itachi. Ked S rank missing nin Hoshigaki Kisame. Naruto frowned and said, "But I didn't K them." Anko said, "But you did, kid. No matter how much you may want to deny it or what anyone ever says, from now on you are credited with Thea KS because you were the one who hit them with the poison and you were the one who brought Thea heads in." Naruto looked down as he had a bitter taste in his mouth and Anko said, "Now you have a target on your head, kid. People who had Thea asses kicked by those two are going to be coming for you." Naruto said, "I know, I need to train harder because that was only 2 members of Akatsuki. I know Uchiha Madara is still out there as well and he will be coming for me." Anko frowned and said, "Tell me everything you know, kid. We need to make you as strong as fast as possible." Naruto said, "I know the rope escape jutsu, Kijibunshin no jutsu, Cage Shuriken no jutsu, Doryu Tiger, Earth Flow River, Doryu Heki, Earth Style Wall, Rose Whip, Sea no Jutsu, Harem Jutsu, Kakaremi no Jutsu, Magic Cloak of Invisibility Technique, and the Haraishin." Anko, who was listening, froze at the last one and she looked at Naruto very slowly and said, "Kid, what was that last one?" Naruto sighed as he reached into his vest he wore and pulled out a scroll and he opened it and channeled chakra into a seal and a kunai appeared and he threw it and when it hit the ground a yellow flash appeared at the kunai and Naruto was standing there. Anko paled as she seen it and asked, "How did you learn that, kid?" Naruto said, "Someone the Yondaime trusted gave it to me." Anko asked, "And how long have you been able to do it?" Naruto said, "That's only the second time I ever used it and maybe a week or 2. Anko had him pinned against the wall and screamed, "You had that jutsu in your arsenal the whole thing time and you didn't use it." Naruto gasped, "But I don't really know how to yet. Like I said, I had only used it once before that and that was to see if the kunai would even accept my blood for my dad's," as he covered his mouth. Anko frowned and dropped him and she walked a few feet away and said, "So the only reason you can do it is because your dad was the Yondaime. I figure you must have learned he was your father when you learned the jutsu, huh?" Naruto said, "Yeah. I don't even understand how it really works. I know some of it but not a lot. Counting you and me, only 5 people know I can use it. I've been warned not to use it and never tell where I got it from because it would cause a lot of trouble." Anko said, "Yeah, it's wood. From now on, unless I allow it or you're in another life or death fight like we were in before, you are not to use it. Save it as your trump card, kid." Naruto said, "I planned on it. Only reason I told you was because I feel I owe you for saving the others." Anko said, "Yeah, well, don't ever do it again, SS Tane, or I will K you myself." Naruto said, "I guess I took Kakashi Sensei lesson to heart. Those who follow the rules are trash." Another voice said, "But those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash," making both freeze and look up at a tree where they saw Kakashi sitting reading his book. Anko growled and asked, "How long have you been here, Kakashi?" Kakashi said, "Relax, my lips are sealed, Anko. I know better than anyone what kind of headache that jutsu coming out in the open will cause. Naruto frowned and asked, "What are you doing here, Kakashi-sensei?" Kakashi said, "I heard you train with Anko today, so I came to talk to you about your eye." Naruto frowned and said, "Yeah, Itachi told me to say something about pulling an obito. He said you would understand." Anko and Kakashi both looked at each other and Kakashi said, "Yeah, I do. So have you tried to use it yet?" Naruto said, "No, and I can't yet anyways." Anko asked, "Why?" Naruto sighed and said, "I had my eye checked out by someone I trust. She told me Itachi did a good job on the eye for the most part, but he must have been distracted or something because some of the more finer connections weren't right and was causing me pain. She fixed it but told me to don't use it for a few days because most transplants need time to adjust. I am not going to use it until this weekend at the earliest." Kakashi said, "Good advice. I had no choice at the time I got mine and I fried several of the connections in the eye, making any time I use it I lose a lot of chakra." Naruto said, "So what now?" Kakashi looked at Anko and said, "What's his training schedule like?" Anko said, "I don't know." Naruto sighed and said, "Monday's strategy, capture and chakra control with Shikaku. Tuesday, food, survival and chakra control with Chooser. Wednesday with Anko. Thursday plants and infiltration with Inoiki. Fridays tea with Ibiki. Saturdays I usually come here to train some more and Sundays is recreational training with all of the Ino, Shiko, Cho family." Kakashi said, "You mind some company here Saturday, Anko?" Anko asked, "Why?" Kakashi said, "I can train Naruto to use his Sharingan a few hours before I meet my team on Saturday." Naruto asked, "Are you going to be late?" Kakashi smiled and said, "For this, no. I will honestly have an excuse why I can't show up till 9 in the morning anyways." Anko said, "That will work. You take from 6 to 9 and I will take him from 9 till lunch." Naruto asked, "Would either of you know how to use a sword?" Kakashi said, "No, why?" Anko said, "Don't tell me you have sushi sword as well." Naruto smirked and pulled out a scroll and unsealed it and Anko burst out laughing and Kakashi said, "Now that is interesting." Naruto said, "Yeah, Itachi told me it eats chakra and gives it back to the user of the sword, so if I can use this along with my poisons it should help, I think." Anko said, "Kid, you have to be able to hold that thing before you can even try to use it." Naruto picked it up and he was panting from the weighing and Anko said, "All right kid, we wasted enough time today, it's agreed Kakashi, now get out of here." Kakashi nods and Anko waited until she could tell Kakashi was actually gone and said, "All right kid, no joking or anything but you're going to have to think hard and figure out what to use and what not to in a fight, you are all over the map here kid, swords, whips, flashing thing kunais. For now seal that sword away. We are going to work on your speed, strength and stamina as well as your taijutsu. I saw how bad it sucked in that fight." Naruto frowned and put the sword back in his scroll and sealed the Hiraishin kunai as well and asked, "So how are we going to do this?" Anko smirked. 4 hours later Naruto was pulling a cart like a horse would full of boulders in it around the forest of death with Anko sitting in the driver's seat with a stopwatch and a whip she had brought from home and she said, "Good kid, you made it around the outside of the forest in under 55 minutes. Now make it around again in under 50 minutes. Mush." As she hit him across the back with the whip as he cried out in pain and took off pulling the cart. Anko smirked and thought, "Doing good kid, there's around 1,000 pounds in here right now. Next week I will have 1,500 pounds in this thing. My sensei made me do this also kid, so I know it works on building up speed, strength and stamina, strength to get it moving in the first place, stamina to keep it moving and speed to do it in less time each lap. Pain from me will make sure you keep going pushing past your limits and also make you tougher so you don't feel pain as easy. When you get to 30 minutes around the forest then we will call it a day and work on your taijutsu." At around noon Naruto was panting hard as he fell to the ground and Anko said, "Good kid, rest for an hour and eat and then we will begin working on your taijutsu." Naruto glared at her and said, "All right, you explained that sadistic training and I agree it will help me, but how are you going to help my taijutsu?" Anko said, "We're going to fight, not spar but full taijutsu fighting. You're a reaction fighter. It makes you unpredictable which is good but you don't have experience to block your openings you leave in your guard. That is what I am going to teach you. To fix your guard while fighting. I will start off at genin level in speed and power, I will slowly build up from there, by the time I am done I will be going full out even if you're on the ground ready to S. I don't stop until your S or 5 PM gets here. Naruto asked, what happens at 5? Anko smirked and she said, why, poison immunity and dodge practice. Naruto paled as Anko laughed. That will be all for this video, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos, goodbye.